All right, to get to Airtable templates, you need to go to airtable.com/templates, or sorry, universe. And then once you go to Airtable Universe, you can search for my name, Nicole Dyer, or you can search for DNA Research Log, either way. So here's the Airtable Universe, and you can see all different kinds of projects that people have shared. Just go ahead and search for DNA Research Log, and that'll bring up the original one and then the 2.0 one. So we're going to use DNA Research Log 2.0 because this one has the correspondence log separated out into its own table, which is, I think, more useful. So let's start with that one. And on this page, you can kind of preview what the base is like. You can click Explore the Base, and you can see the 3 different tables and what typically goes in them. So the first table in this base is just a list of the matches that you're using for whatever project, whatever objective you're working on. And the name is here, the number of centimorgans, the number of segments, the company, and so forth. In the correspondence log table, this is where you keep track of all the emails and letters and messages and phone calls and correspondence that you've done with matches so that you can remember what you've done and what you've sent and what you've said already. So you put in the date, you put in the name of the match, which is a link back to a row in this first table, and then you can put in whatever information you think is useful, leaving blank whatever you don't need. And then in the last table, the research log, this is where you keep track of searches that you've done relating to one of your matches. So when you're trying to find out how a match is related to you, you might go to Ancestry and just type in their name and try to find out who their parents were. Usually you're trying to expand a match's tree so that you can find the common ancestor. So you might be doing searches for records, you might be doing obituary searches, family tree searches, and it's really important to always log everything that you're doing so that you don't forget what you found and you don't repeat your searches. So you can put in the source citation here, and the column that's linked here is linking back to the match name. So you always want to keep track of which match you're searching for records about. So I wanted to find out records about Susan Smith's great-grandmother, and her name was Jane Hill, and I wanted to find out, when she died and if that would tell me anything about her family. So this research log can be grouped by which match you're researching. So it kind of gives you mini research logs for each one of your matches, all grouped within the main overarching research project base that you have. So if your overarching goal for this project is to find the parents of your 3rd great-grandfather, and you're looking at a lot of different matches and trying to build their trees and find the common ancestor, this is a great way to keep track of all the different matches that you have to look at. So if you want to get started using this base, you can click Copy Base, and then it will copy it to your own Airtable account. And if you don't have one, you'll need to create one, and it's free as long as you don't share it with a lot of people and have a lot of collaborators and try to use a lot of space. So if you're just doing simple things, that works. So here's my new one. And so you click on the new one, and when you first open it up, you can see the examples that I put in, and you can start off by just deleting whatever I have here and click delete, and then you can fill it in with your own. The correspondence log is this next table, so you can delete all these. Just click here and delete everything, clear it all out, and make it ready for you. And the research log, the same. You can see here I've uploaded some attachments of the records, which is kind of a fun feature. If you find a record that you really want to attach in your research log, you can do that. Often what we normally do as genealogists is just save it to a folder on our computer, which is a great idea too. And if you do that, you can instead just put save to folder or whatever you like to do, whatever your protocol is. So let's just practice using this table. So let's say that you come across a DNA match that looks like they might be interesting to your project. And speaking of project, let's go ahead and change the name of this research log. So I like to do my research logs based on my objective. So I'll put in like what I'm researching about. So DNA research log for Joseph Hill. And then you can change the color too. So let's do purple. And then another thing that I like to do is add a base description. And this is where you can put some text, and I would like to put my objective here. So, research objective. Who were the parents of Joseph Hill, born 1820 in Lincolnshire, England? So now I have my name of my log, I have an objective for my log, and I'm going to save that. And then X out of that. And if I need to see it again, I can just click on the I for info about this base. All right, so let's say we find another match we want to add. Just click the plus to add another match, and then we'll put in their name. And I try to always put in their their display name, like if you're on Ancestry and their username is something weird like DH, I'll put that. And then I'll also put managed by John Hill. And if you don't like that, you can also add a column here that has the manager or the admin of the kit. You can right click and insert left, and you can put admin. And then you can just put John Hill as the admin. And sometimes that will be blank because sometimes people admin their own kit. What I did decide to put in the correspondence log is a column for admin, because when you contact a DNA match and the DNA tester is managed by an administrator or an admin, the message will go to the admin. So it's important to know who you're talking to when you send a message. So when you're sending a message to Anne, F205, then you would not want to address it to John. So I would say, Dear Anne, or hello, it looks like I'm a match to a kit that you manage for John Forrest, and I would like to collaborate with you. So you can say it like that. So back to the DNA matches table. So we're going to go ahead and delete this column and just go back to this method. DH managed by John Hill, and we share 34 centimorgans. On Ancestry, it rounds for you, but if you're looking at the downloaded match file, you can see like the decimal, so you can put it in like 34.8 or whatever it is, 34.9. And this field is a decimal number, but you can change it to be an integer if you would prefer that. But it's kind of nice to be able to put in the decimal amount of centimorgans, because some companies report it that way and it's a little more specific. So you can do that. You can also add how many decimals you want to go out to. I know when you download the Ancestry match file using like DNA.com, it will show you out to like several decimals how many centimorgans you share with a person. Okay, so that is the centimorgans. And then for segments, I started doing this recently. At first when I did it, I didn't add the segments, but I decided it was information I wanted to have in my research log so that I could see if it was a lot of small segments that have been chopped up really small. So that would indicate maybe, that it could be pedigree collapse or endogamy if there's a lot of really small segments shared. Or if it's one big segment, then it seems to be better, but not always. So let's just say these ones were 1 and this one was 2. And then you put in the company where you match, and you can just click the plus and choose from the drop down, or you can just start typing. And so Ancestry, and then enter, and then tab to get to the next field, and then a link to the match page. So if you have that link, you can go ahead and type it here. So it'll be something like ancestry.com. I usually will copy and paste it, and then blah, blah, blah. And then if you end up finding that this person has transferred their kit to GEDmatch and you recognize their name and they share the same amount or similar amount to you, then you can put their GEDmatch kit here so that you can see like, okay, here's the link to the match page on Ancestry, and also I can compare to their GEDmatch kit here. And the reason why there might be different amounts of centimorgans shared is because of the threshold used at Ancestry and their Timber algorithm, and then the different threshold used whatever you did for your one-to-one comparison at GEDmatch. So I don't have his GEDmatch kit number, so I'm just going to keep going to relationship. So if you've already figured out the relationship, you can just put the exact relationship, like this one, third cousin once removed. If you don't know yet, you can just put the estimate from Ancestry. So often you'll just know 4th to 6th cousins. And once you've nailed that down, you can put a more specific one in there. So the most recent common ancestor, I don't know who it is yet, so I'm just going to leave that blank. And then the name of their family tree and the link to their family tree. Up here at the top, you can see what the field type is. So the field type here is a single line of text. The field type here is a URL. So in Airtable, you can't have both in one column. So in my normal spreadsheet, I would normally just put the name of the tree and then add the hyperlink to that name. But here you have to separate it out, and that's just how it works at Airtable. And then in Common With, sometimes I like to include matches that they are shared matches with. So if I already know that DH also matches John and Susan, then I might want to put that here. So this column is a linked column. It's linked to this table, DNA matches. So if I want to link to any other records in this table, I can do that here. So to add a in common with, I would click the plus and then choose who is in common with. So now I have that DH is a shared match with John and Susan. And I don't always put this in, but sometimes it's really useful if I just want to remember what genetic network they're in, and often my whole research log will all be a genetic network of people related to each other, so I don't need to use this because I already know they're all in common with. But sometimes this is useful. Okay, so if you don't know how you're related, you don't know the most recent common ancestor, you can at least put in locations and surnames. So if I notice there's some surnames like Hill and Forrest and other surnames in the family tree that might give me some clues, then I can list them out. Sometimes I'll list all 8 or all 16 of the surnames in their family tree for their great-grandparent generation or second great-grandparent generation. And I'll just list all of them so that I can start to notice clues. All right, and then locations. If you notice that they have a lot of people from a certain county where you think your family is from, you can put in, oh, he has ancestors from Lincolnshire. And sometimes I'll want to put like a specific person. Like maybe I noticed Samuel Hill lived in Swine's Head, Lincolnshire, and then his date range, which would be like 1785 to 1850. And sometimes a note like that can be really useful. So you can see how it cuts off that because my column isn't very wide and my row isn't very deep, but I can change the row height here to be taller if I want to see more of my notes. You really only get these 4 row heights. You can choose short, medium, tall, and extra tall. If you want to see everything from this row all in one box, you can expand the record and it will open a pop-up with everything, and that might be an easier way for you to look at it. So that's expanding the record. If you would like to see everything in kind of a snapshot view and not have all the info, you can just change it to a short row height, and then every time you want to see more information, just open it up. All right, so now let's say that I decided I wanted to message this John Hill. And so I'm going to go over to my correspondence log and keep track of the message that I sent. So right now I have this grouped by the correspondence sent to one match. So I'm going to ungroup that while I do this, just so you can see. So without it being grouped, it looks like this. So I'm going to add in a new row, and the date of the correspondence is the primary record field. And so I'm going to put that in as today. And then I'm going to put in the name of the match. So it was DH. And this column links back to the DNA matches table. So it's drawing from DNA matches that I've already entered. And then I'm going to put the admin again, just to remind me who I'm talking to. So the admin is John Hill. So the message is going to John Hill. And what am I using? What type of contact is this? I'm going to put that it's the Ancestry message system. And then I'm just going to type out exactly what I said to John Hill. Copy and paste that here. And then when I get a reply, if I do, I'll put the date the reply was received and what they said back. And then a next action. And maybe the next action is to reply. So then I will add another row for my next message to him. So you can see how that will kind of build on each other. So let's say I send him a message tomorrow and it's the same person. So I'm going to just copy that one down to the next record. So how you do that is select the box that you want to copy below, just like any other spreadsheet, and then a little box appears and you can drag it down. And now I'm going to show you how to group. So if I want to see all my correspondence with DH or with John Hill regarding the match with DH, then I'm going to go up to group and pick a field to group by. So the fields are up here at the top, the columns, and I want to group by DNA match name. So now I can see that I've got a group of correspondence up here for DH, and here's all the messages I've sent, and then here's all the messages I've sent to Susan Smith, and then the message I sent to John Forrest. So that's the correspondence log. And now we're going to the research log. So let's say and this is also grouped by the match name so that I can see who I did research on. So let's say I want to add a new row or a new record here, and it's not going to be for Susan though. So I'm going to go change this and X out of Susan, and then it automatically detects that I've changed the person that it's grouped by, so it's going to move the record as soon as I put in a new person here. So let's put in DH and then click out of it, and it's added a new grouping here for research that is done about my match with DH. So in the first field or column here, the question is, what am I searching for? So let's say I'm searching for his grandparents' names. And so he gave me his parents' names in the correspondence, let's say, and so we want to find the grandparents. So let's get even more specific. Let's say we want to find his mother's parents' names, and maybe his mother's name is Sarah Smith. So we're looking for Sarah Smith's parents, and the date that we did the search is today. And the website we're going to look on is Family Search. And then when I find the Family Search profile for Sarah Smith, and it's, I actually find her parents, I'm going to put it here. And the URL, and then the source citation, and the results. So Sarah's parents were John Smith and Cecilia Huffmaster. So now I have my results and my comments, and I can see that I've expanded the tree of my match DH back one generation. You might decide to build a quick tree for this match in Ancestry, and if you do that, I always keep track of that here. Quick tree for DH, and I put the date that I did it and the website, and then I put the URL of the home person in that quick tree. So even if I add this person as a floating branch in my master research tree for this project, I still will put the URL to the match, so that when I click the link, it goes to DH's ancestors, a view of his pedigree. So then I put the source citation to my own tree, and I just put in the results that I was able to trace his tree back to James Hill in Lincolnshire. And so maybe my hypothesis is that is the common ancestor. All right, so that is how I use my Airtable research log. As you can see, the strength of Airtable is that it allows you to link records in one table, DNA matches, to the records in the other table, and then group all of your correspondence by who you've been talking to, and group all of your research by which match you've been researching. So this helps you to stay a little more organized and have an easy way to keep track of what you're doing in your DNA research. So good luck to you, and I hope this is useful.